let me ask you something. Do you ever look at how much you make and at how much you need to spend every month and feel like the numbers are not making sense anymore? Not necessarily because you're not making good money. In fact, you're probably making more now than ever before. And yet, somehow it still feels like it's not enough. It's not enough to get to the end of the month comfortably, or not enough to save up, build wealth, and feel secure. And it's not your imagination. The price of groceries has increased over 35% in the last 5 years, and rent, energy, insurance, subscriptions, they all have gone up too. To the point that even financially stable people who objectively should be doing fine, are constantly feeling squeezed. Which is crazy and can leave you confused, because even if you're playing by the rules, even if you're doing everything right, it's like the math of life has stopped working and nobody can tell you why. Well, in this video, I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna show you why this paradox that you're experiencing isn't a glitch. It's a feature of the system. It's the unavoidable consequence of the biggest lie of them all. A lie that is meant to keep us all hooked on spending and debt while feeding you just enough noise to stop you from ever questioning it. Then, I'm gonna talk about what I think is the real tragedy behind all this. I'm gonna look into the near future and show you why, if you do nothing, things are only gonna get worse. And finally, and most importantly, I'm going to show you how you can actually step out of the hamster wheel and regain control over your own life. Because yes, there is a way out, but it's probably not the one you've been told. We're living through a paradox. Just look around you. Feeling broke is not something reserved to people with low income anymore. And that perhaps is the most visible proof that your struggle isn't a sign of your personal failure. No, it's a feature of a system designed to squeeze you for everything you're worth. Now, does that mean then that everyone with money problems is free from any blame? No. There are people who have indeed made terrible choices or who are simply lazy. Of course there are. But the vast majority of people who are currently struggling are not like that. And therefore, anyone who claims that those with financial problems only have themselves to blame for is both an ass and an idiot. The biggest culprit of your financial struggles is not you, and it's not your bad luck either. It's the system. Now, when I say system, I don't mean it in a conspiro-paranoid type of way. I don't think there's a secret evil elite that is pulling the strings behind the scenes. No. Everything that is happening can be explained as the logical consequence of the rules of the game, where every economic actor behaves in accordance to the incentives. It's that simple. Does that make it any less messed up? No. In fact, perhaps even more, because instead of placing the blame on a few bad players, it questions something that we've been told is unquestionably good: the game itself. Well, the gig is up, and more people are seeing through the lies and awakening to reality. So let's start by unraveling the biggest lie of them all. The foundational principle that keeps the system going despite its terrible consequences. The belief that stuff gives you happiness. Now, to be fair, it does feel that way. You buy something you've wanted for a long time and there's a real emotional high. But first of all, that happiness is coming from you, from the experience you're having getting that thing or using it, not from the thing itself. And then, let's be real. That happiness doesn't last. It fades quickly, sometimes within hours, sometimes within days, and then you're back to the baseline looking for the next thing. Now, some people will say, well, that's just being human. We're naturally discontent and we're always looking for the next shiny thing. But here's the thing, that wasn't always like this. And you don't need to go back 300 years to see it, just think back to when you were a kid. When you were a kid, you could get one simple toy and play with it for months. You didn't need constant upgrades or replacements to feel engaged. No, the satisfaction lasted. Today, it's the other way around. We buy more than ever, but we enjoy things less and for less time than ever before. What has changed? You. The system has changed you, because its very existence depends on you not being satisfied. Just think about it. Happy people are terrible consumers, because if you were genuinely content, you would stop buying so much, and that is too dangerous. What would happen then if everyone was happy? The system might collapse. So that's how a system that relies on the crazy idea of infinite growth has survived so long, by making you think that your needs are never fully solved. The system needs you hungry, always wanting for more, so it keeps moving the goalpost and teasing you with promises. And then it gives you just enough of a high to keep you chasing, but never enough to let you feel that you're done. In other words, you're struggling by design. Not just because prices have gone up, but because the definition of what you need has expanded. Things that used to be optional or seen as a luxury are now framed as essential. Everything has a subscription, there's always an upgrade or a premium version to aim for. And as a result, you're no longer just paying for survival, you're paying for belonging. Because not having those things makes you feel like you're falling behind. And that happens at all income levels. It's not like you reach a certain point and say, great, I have enough. No. As your income increases, your spending rises with it. Not intentionally, but automatically. It's called lifestyle inflation. You upgrade your phone, your apartment, your TV, your car, your habits, and what used to feel like luxury quickly becomes your new baseline. You raise your income, yes, but so your cost, and once again, you're not enjoying your life, but working to maintain it. I saw this all the time when I lived in the Bay Area. People making $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year who were stressed out of their minds hoping not to get fired because they had 3 mortgages for their houses in Marin, Petaluma, and Lake Tahoe, and with property taxes, private school tuitions for their kids, and a million other running costs, they were barely making it month to month. And yet, instead of thinking on how they could cut their expenses so they could breathe, all they could talk about was their upcoming trip to Hawaii. Because once you reach that point, stepping back feels like losing. You can't easily reduce your lifestyle without feeling like you failed. So you keep pushing forward, not necessarily because you want more, but because you need to sustain what you already have. It's not about things anymore, it's about your identity. And no matter what business schools might claim, that type of spending isn't driven by need. No, that's bullshit. It's driven by insecurity. Hundreds of billions of dollars are spent every year to convince you that what you own signals who you are. And that's how something as basic as a water bottle can end up becoming a status symbol, and how you can justify paying 10,000 times more for that water than if you got it from the tap. Or how you can justify replacing your perfectly fine 4K TV with an AK1 when your eyes are incapable of seeing the difference. It's a fact. Most of your expenses are no longer about function, not even about how they actually improve your life. They're about how they make you look, to others and to yourself. And if status can get you to open your wallet, don't worry. The system has another card up the sleeve: obsolescence. Things don't last nearly as much as they used to. Is that a coincidence? Of course not. It's not like suddenly engineers have gotten worse. We have better materials, higher investment, and smarter people. What's the problem then? The incentives, once again. There's more money to be made selling cheaper things that break fast and are impossible to repair. It's that simple. Is that a huge waste? Yes, and that's exactly what the system needs. And yet, all that consumption is still not enough. The system needs more. Of course it does. Luckily, it has a final tool that can transcend time and let you buy today with tomorrow's effort: debt. Now, is debt intrinsically evil? Well, if you ask the average billionaire, the answer is clearly no. After all, that's what they use to turn money into boatloads upon boatloads of more money while paying basically no tax. But even for the average Joe, debt is a perfectly valid tool that serves a legitimate purpose, up to a point. Because for those who use debt because they actually need it, debt comes with a significant hidden cost: dependency. And that's not random. The system loves it. Because debt keeps you compliant. It makes sure you show up every month, no matter how you feel about your job. It takes away your ability to take risks. It locks you into a path, the path of the silent consumer, where you shut up, lower your head, and buy. That's your role. Now, here's what I think is the real tragedy in all this. It's not just that things are expensive, it's what you're actually trading for them. Because the real cost of stuff is not money, it's time. That $2,000 camera that you want to buy isn't just a product, it's literally weeks of your life. It's early morning, long commutes, it's stressful meetings, all of that compressed into something that you will hold every once in a while in your hand, or even worse, that you will keep inside a cabinet gathering dust. Every time you buy something you don't need, you're trading your most precious resource, your very life, for a quick dopamine hit that usually ends up, in the best case, as clutter, and in the worst, it turns into recurring cost and regret. So, if everything is so messed up, why aren't more people questioning this? Why do we willingly accept a system that locks us in a hamster wheel and promotes sickness instead of health, waste instead of efficiency, and addiction instead of balance. If you want to know why, just turn on the news. It's because of division and distraction. We live in an environment that constantly pulls your attention away from the important questions and shifts it towards noise. The last controversy, memes, political outrage, there's always something to react to and to be divided about. And the system loves it, because as long as you're reacting, you're not reflecting. And as long as there's someone on the other side that you can blame for your struggle, you're not gonna dig deeper, ask who benefits from the system working this way, and look for the real culprit. That's what keeps the system running. So the situation is grim. You're literally trading your life away because you're highly dependent on your income to keep that artificially high level of consumption needed to sustain an image of who you are. Yeah, that sounds bad. But wait, because it's about to get a whole lot worse. Because a new variable has entered the game, and it's gonna change everything. Yes, it's AI. We're moving towards a wall where fewer people are needed to produce the same amount of value. And that means that entire categories of jobs are going to be automated and reshaped. Now, AI cheerleaders will say that there's no reason to worry, because the same thing happened with other technological breakthroughs like the internet, and just like then, new jobs will be created to replace the lost ones. But they're wrong. This is not the same, not by a long shot. The disruption potential of AI on the job market is unprecedented, and we're not talking about what could happen 10, 20 years down the line. No, it's happening right now, and in 3 to 5 years, it could affect hundreds of millions of people. And that creates a fundamental tension, because the system as it is depends on mass consumption. It needs people earning and spending continuously to keep the engine running. But if fewer people are earning stable incomes, who exactly is going to keep buying all that stuff? That's the question nobody has an answer for yet. The good news is that most probably the gig is up, and that the system as it currently exists is pretty much doomed in the long term. The bad news is that regardless of whether the system adapts somehow or collapses, one thing is for sure: the pressure on you is only going to increase. And even though I cannot offer you a magic solution that will completely shield you from the turbulence ahead, I can definitely help you break out of this vicious cycle, and in the process, help you be better prepared for whatever might come. So, how do you break out of this? How do you put an end to the struggle? Well, as we've seen, one thing is for sure. Earning more or hustling harder is not actually going to solve the problem. If anything, it's probably going to make it worse. Because more income without a change in behavior is just going to feed the same cycle at a higher level. The real solution is much simpler, but much harder to accept. It's a life with less. Not in an extreme, minimalist, own-nothing kind of way, no. The solution is not rejecting modern life and moving to a cave to become a hermit. That's not realistic. The solution is becoming conscious of the situation and making financial decisions that are functional and intentional. In other words, to start choosing what actually matters, not what you're told to want. That is the real rebellion. And that starts with small changes. Switching to cheaper services that deliver the same value. Cutting expenses that don't actually improve your life. Buying what you need, not what you might need in a hypothetical future. And making things yourself when it makes sense, not just to save money, but to reconnect with the process. It also means being more selective about what you buy. Choosing quality products that last instead of cheap things that need constant replacement. And taking a stance against products that are not easy to repair. Not because it's trendy, but because it reduces long-term cost and dependency. And over time, these small changes compound. Your expenses go down, your savings go up, and most importantly, your need for income decreases. Some people might call this living below your means, but I prefer to call it freedom. Because freedom isn't about how much you earn, it's about how much you need. Every expense you remove is one less thing controlling you. Every obligation you eliminate is one more decision that you get to make freely. So the question stops being, can I afford this? And it becomes, is this worth my time? Is it worth my energy, my life? That's what freedom actually looks like. Not escaping the system entirely, but reducing its grip on you. Creating enough space so that your choices are driven by intention, not want. And once you start thinking and behaving that way, financial independence is not a pipe dream anymore. I should know it. I'm enjoying it every single day. And let me assure you, it's so worth it. So stop building your own cage and start taking it apart one piece at a time. I'm happy to help you in the journey, so if you enjoyed this video, you already know what to do.